Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Well, hello there, RJ.
Jay.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. Got a little bit of a. You're going to hear me coughing, maybe occasionally. I will do my best to not cough into the microphone, but so I've got my warm drink here, and so I'll try to keep my voice soothed.
I think Chad had one time where he, I'm not sure if he knew he was on or not, but he coughed right in the microphone.
Oh yeah,
it just sounds funny. So maybe we can keep at least one in today.
Just one, yeah, just so I can match up to my hero. Yeah. So were you able to watch the races in real time? And I asked this tongue in cheek because I think this is the earliest weekend of the year for us in North America. With I think you had a couple of 3:30 a.m. race start times.
No, I did set my alarm for the second races.
Yeah,
but I've seen all the races, but I don't think I've seen any race live. Mm-hmm. Like for me, I tried really hard not to find any results.
Mm-hmm. I sent you one, maybe two.
No, but not a direct winner.
It wasn't a winner. No, it wasn't a winner. Yeah.
But it's funny because when you sometimes I watch like NFL or NHL highlights, and then in the picture you can often they seem to put in a picture of the team that wins.
Yeah.
So then you look at it and you're kind of like, ah. And then IBU had one race where Elvira was in the picture. It's like, oh, great. Now I know who's going to win, but it obviously didn't happen. But
clearly not.
No. So it's it was good. I've had some major issues with the Eurovision app. I don't know.
No, me too.
Works okay on the iPhone or iPad, but as soon as you start our AirPlay or whatever, it's bumping out and stuff.
All the time.
I mean, it's awesome that we have the opportunity to watch in North America for free. So, I mean, can't take anything away from it. I'd be happy to pay some money if we can get the ads out, but we're not there yet. But so that was a bit frustrating because I think the Friday morning Friday we went skiing, so I didn't see that until later in the day. But the Saturday I was up fairly early to watch, and it took me like almost an hour to actually get it going on my TV. I was so frustrating. But
I would have given up.
I'm not much of a morning person, so it's, but anyway, in the end, it all worked out. I was super excited to see a very nice and snowy Austria.
Gorgeous.
The images were quite amazing, and mixed too. Hey, like the Sunday was pretty not fun to race, but
it was pretty to watch on TV.
I'm sure they had fun, but what's that?
Yeah, it was pretty to watch on TV with the snow falling, and it looked
dramatic. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. But then the Saturday was just gorgeous weather, right?
Yep.
So
yeah, I know. I agree. It was very pretty. I had similar issues with the app. Last thing about the app, and then I'll let it go. But it'll kick you out every now and then, and when you go back in, you have to watch like a minute of ads until you can get there, and it's really frustrating because it always kicks you out when something's happening, and then you have to wait to catch up to it. The other thing that always seems to happen is in the last lap of a competitive race, when you're really looking for those splits, or you're trying to see, how it's gonna turn out, it goes to an advertisement, and it's like, not now. And I don't know if it's intentional or if it just does it because it's on a timer and it's like it has been an hour and it's time for
it's
time for you to see.
I would think it's when you have the most watchers, it's when the at the finish
when it's coming to a head.
So from a sales perspective or marketing or whatever that's called, income.
Yeah. But that's enough about that. That's the silly stuff. So what'd you think about the racing?
3 things that stood out to you. Just don't look at your notes. Just
3 things.
Yeah.
Franziska Preuss in yellow and looking really good. Johannes Dingesbo, the Return of the King, and then we'll talk about the collision with Jacquelin. It's not really a collision. You know what I mean? And then I thought some compelling relays in terms of the finishes off the podium.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm still trying to get over the fact that the two fastest women on the pursuit were Lampich and Breza-Boucher, who respectively had, and I want to make sure I say it right, 10 misses, and Breza-Boucher, I think, had 6. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she had 6 misses. So on the 10-kilometer race, Lampich skis 1.5 kilometers extra and still has the fastest time. And then Breza-Boucher, who I didn't like. I know she's one of the fast skiers. I didn't like when you watch her. It didn't really seem that way. And it's many. Like I'm amazed with that they are so fast, even with more time on the penalty loop. But also the sense that, you know, when you shoot 6 misses, or like Breza-Boucher after 3 rounds, when you're already +4. Like, nobody would blame them to be, I wouldn't say just step out of the race, but if you would just take the gas off a little bit, saving yourself for, you know, the next race or later in the season. But obviously they just kept pushing and pushing, and yeah, it's just amazing.
We've seen other athletes do that too. We've seen other athletes who, you know, when they're so far out, they're like, you know, I'll just get myself to the finish line. Especially in a pursuit where there's
somebody else that stood out to me.
When there's not, it's a pursuit, so you're not trying to, you know, save a spot for, you know, the next race. Right. It's not like it's building towards something else. To continue just to fight and fight. I mean, it tells you a lot about just their competitive spirit, and that's not to take anything away from anybody else. Just that tells you just who they are, and that they will continue to fight that fight.
Jacquelin stood out to me. Just for, he just seems quite unlucky so far, or luck is not going his way. Like you said, we'll get into it. I think it was just an unlucky collision where he was at the bad end of the thing. But you know, last week he got overtaken with like 5 meters to the finish line. But if you take that out of the picture, he's just having a great start of the season, and I'm really happy to see that. And the third is how smaller nations are in the mix. You know, we've seen Slovenia perform really well. Teams like Bulgaria, Canada came in 12th in the women's relay. USA did amazing again in the men's relay. So it's really cool to see, you know, that it's not just the top 4 or 5 nations all the time.
Yeah. Did you spend any time on Instagram yesterday, or I'm sure it was on TikTok too? I'm just not on TikTok. The video posted by the Slovenian biathlon team showing the women when they, you know, it was like their reaction as the race was going on and how excited they were. It was like they had just won the gold medal at the Worlds. Like, they were so happy. And it's just, it's fun to see these athletes so excited about stuff like that. And then, like, US Biathlon had one showing Campbell Wright as his roommate, Maxime Germain, was shooting. And Germain hits the targets, and USA, you know, gets away and obviously ends up finishing in 6th. And Campbell Wright, he's like, Maxime Germain, ladies and gentlemen, just like classic, you know, you'll have to listen to it because I can't do his accent, but it's like, you know, they're clearly, like, there's such camaraderie in these teams. And like you said, I'm very happy that we're getting to see, you know, look, I love watching Germany. I love watching France. I love watching Norway, but I love seeing these other nations.
Oh, absolutely.
In the teams that we get to see, the athletes that we get to see, and sort of their joy. One note about Team USA, because I want to say it up front this time. This is now the U.S. men's 4th straight top 6 finish. It's their longest streak in the history of U.S. men's biathlon. So we'll see how long they can keep this going. But Yeah, it's been a fun ride. And the neat thing too is that Sean Doherty, Jake Brown, they're doing good work, but it's really been Campbell Wright and Maxime Germain who have been, pulling the heavy load, the last couple of weeks. So it's fun seeing those young guys sort of take the lead.
Yeah. I didn't see the video of the Slovenian team, but at that point I was watching the races on the international feed, so it's without commentary.
Mm-hmm.
And from the moment they were close to the finish line to about 10 minutes after, you could just hear them scream and yell in the background. It was awesome.
They were so happy.
They focused the sound on other things, but it was always in the background. Like you could just, it was really cool.
They were so happy. And I love that for them. Yeah. So I agree. Smaller nations getting in there, it's a different sort of excitement.
Yeah. It was unfortunate that Austria didn't have a very strong weekend for their home crowd, of course. So that was, I guess, a bit of I think their best result was 13th in the relay. 13th and 14th, women and men, respectively. And
hey, but something cool happened for Austria this weekend. That Anna Andexer made her World Cup debut.
Yeah.
And she was
not too bad either.
Yeah, like 25th, something like that for the sprint. Yeah, I was really happy to see sprint. That. Yeah, way to go, Anna.
Yeah.
My if you have been listening, you have known that I have been talking about her incessantly for the last year.
Yeah, for sure.
It was pretty cool.
She looks a lot younger than she is.
She looks like she's about 16.
Unless the picture is a bit older, but yeah.
No, she looks very, very young.
But yeah, you mentioned it earlier as one of your highlights, Preuss.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's very similar to last year, right? Where first couple of World Cup, she was flying and she's also one of those that when you look at her ski, she doesn't look the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at her times and she clearly is. So she also, I find her facial expression is very stoic.
Yeah, very much so.
It's not like a huge smile from ear to ear, but do you think it plays in her head at all? Where she's like, yeah, I've been here before, but now let's see if I can
keep if I can
going this time. I mean,
I don't know. She seems so confident right now. I don't like she just like
but it was the same last year.
Yeah. So it was a cool full circle moment. I don't know if you saw this. She got the yellow bib at the end of Östersund last year, and then she got sick and she wasn't able to start in Hochfilzen, and then it was exactly like at the same like the race where she lost it because she didn't race is the race where she got the yellow bib back, which was kind of neat. And so like this neat, like 1 year later she has the yellow bib back kind of thing. She doesn't look to be overwhelmed, by pressure or in her head. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, she's very stoic. She had a great weekend.
Oh, No, I agree. I think she's pretty, she has a lot of experience, so that definitely is in her favor. I'm just curious if she's more just in general, like, what can I do to stay healthy this time, even though...
Yeah.
And I'm sure a previous year she's tried anything she can to stay healthy, and it's just not something you can always control. But
I might be mixing her up. Did she have sinus surgery? I thought, or was it Vitozzi? Somebody had sinus surgery to
I have a feeling
open
it was
up
somebody different, but I don't remember for sure.
Yeah. It's one of those things where whatever I need to do, if it's like burning sage or something, I will do it to keep this going. Connected with Preuss, and actually one last thing about Preuss before I forget. Would you know off the top of your head who the 5 fastest women are in biathlon right now?
My guess is Lampich.
Mm-hmm.
Justine Brézard-Boucher, Elvira.
Yep.
Based on this, probably Preuss.
Yep.
5th one, is it Halverson?
It is Jeanmonnot, which is connects to exactly what I was about to say, is that I would sign up right now for Franziska Preuss, Jeanmonnot battles for the rest of the season. it feels like at the end of last year when we had Vitozzi and Jeanmonnot, going back and forth. I think it's great. I thought seeing them in the pursuit was awesome. Seeing them matched up head to head in the relay was great. I enjoy watching.
I do like Elvira in that mix too, though.
I would love to see Elvira in that mix too. I would love it.
Yeah, you could argue those are currently the three biggest contenders, but they're different. I think Preuss and Jeanmonnot are kind of similar in the sense that they're not like they're solid shots, really strong and solid shots, and very good skiers. But Elvira is clearly a step ahead on the skis.
Yeah,
but then her shooting is not. So I think that's very interesting. But yeah, I agree just to see the final shooting in the relay when they were side by side and
great. Yeah,
I don't know, like maybe it was almost disappointing with Jeanmonnot because you just kind of expect her to hammer them down 5 in a row, but it's also maybe a bit of a new experience for her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, last year was all fun. You've talked about this before, but there's a little more pressure this year now that she's done it once. Now she has to.
Was she in the last leg before?
No. So Simone,
because I always thought it was Simone. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and they bumped her up. I think because her form has not quite been all the way there. And I don't know if you saw this, and maybe I'm making it up, but I feel like other people commented on it too. That at the end of the pursuit, she seemed to be grabbing at her back a little bit. So I don't know if she is. I think my read on her is that she came into the season, and she has admitted this, not on her top form. And in being Julia Simone, she doesn't know how to do anything other than go 100%. And when you do that and you're not all the way ready, you just tend to get these little minor tweaks and things here. That's, the calf, the back, just little things like that. So I'm wondering if she's just not, just little things, nothing major, but just not quite 100%. So they put her in leg one. They put Jeanmonnot in the hammer leg.
It's interesting, the French team, because, it's early to say, but it feels a bit like up till last year, it was clearly Justine Brézaboucher and Simon were like the two key athletes with a lot of young talent around them, where now it almost feels, with Jeanmonnot continuing where she left off last year and Simon and JBB having a bit of a struggle. It's a bit of a shift almost. Again, early to say, but
I would feel the same.
So the thing that stands out to me with Justine Brézaboucher is that last year it seemed like no matter if she missed or hit, she always had a big smile on her face. And I haven't seen that smile a lot in the past 2 weekends. I'm almost thinking maybe she should just put a tiny picture of her child on her visor on the inside.
Yeah.
So that every time that she's going to lay down to take a shot, she sees it and she brings back that smile, because it almost makes me think she was just more relaxed and just more enjoying herself. But what do I know about how she's feeling? But just she seems more stressed and less happy.
Yeah. And that could be as simple as the targets aren't going down, so it just makes everything harder.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the Christmas break will be good for her. She can race in Annecy and then spend some time at home with her family. Because it's got to be hard. I can't imagine traveling like that, being away from my kids for that long. Even if they travel with you, you're still not spending all that time with them.
Yeah.
So
in a way that may be almost harder, but it has its benefits to have your family around you. But
no, I agree. Hopefully a good Christmas at home comes out back in Germany and has that smile that we miss. Hey, she looked crestfallen, really. At the relay, she just looked. It was hard. So hopefully, like you said, hopefully comes back, hits a few more targets, and looks more like the old Brézaboucher. I agree, though. I think it does feel like there has been a shift, and now Jeanmonnot is sort of moved toward the head of the team, which makes sense. She's been the best for a year now.
So who do you think has the deepest team right now for the women?
the French by a hair over the Germans. I mean, it's pretty close.
Yeah, that's very close.
Yeah. I think the French have, but I mean, the German women, they're a bunch of juniors. Hey, it's close. There's just a lot of talent on both sides.
Well, isn't it interesting that there's a number of German athletes we're not even talking about that last year we thought could be the core of the team?
You're talking about like
Kabinger,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm forgetting one or two, but
oh yeah. I mean, it just seems like they
just seem to pop open a can and then
yep.
Here's two more.
Yeah, two more Germans have popped out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just wait until we talk about the juniors at the very end, because I've got about 5 more for you.
Well, and that's same with the French is very similar almost to the Norwegian men, where I don't know how Paula Botte?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how she did last weekend, but the way she was winning the previous weekend, she normally would deserve a spot on the World Cup, you would think. But yeah, with all these young girls in front of her that are doing very well,
what do you do?
It's going to be a tough battle to get on the team.
Well, and so this weekend, so a couple of announcements, right? So the French women and the Norwegian men have to both cut down one for the sprint because of the bibs, right? So it was Jacquelin Pursuit, who was the odd woman out. She just was the lowest on the overall standings.
Right.
And then it is actually Tarjabo who will not be starting the sprint. And he is already qualified for the mass start, so we will see him at the mass start, and he is already assured of being an Oberhof. This is per the press release from the Norwegian. That's where I got that information from the Norwegian Federation. So they will. So he is going to be returning in the second trimester, so no worries about him. And then, but Vetle Christensen.
Well, I don't know if I would not worry about it.
Well, no, I just mean that they mentioned he's pre-qualified and he will be starting in Oberhof.
Right. Yeah. But it's still the fact that he has to basically sit out a sprint race.
Yeah.
That's been a while.
No. He is certainly, his seat is warm. I would say him and Christensen are both, I think they looking over their shoulders just a touch.
So is Christensen down, you said?
He is not, but he would be the next man. So it was between him and Tarje for who was going to be sitting out the sprint.
Yeah, not having a great season so far. I mean, by their standards. Let's be very clear about that.
Yeah, I think he's like 13th in the overall. So it's pretty terrible for a Norwegian. But, good for everybody else.
Yeah.
Speaking of Norwegians, and we'll get to the big Norwegian, but what about Uldal?
I don't know. You just pop another one in there, and they're fighting for a podium. So
it's unbelievable,
incredible. Yeah. And I mean, it's not even surprising, right? It's you see it happen. You're like, yeah. I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight, but if you would have asked, before the race, like, how do you think this new kid's going to do? Yeah, probably pretty good. You know,
he 7th and 5th, just shows up. And in the pursuit, he's just going like head to head with Samuelson the entire race.
Yeah.
Just like he always does. It's crazy. Did you see that shoot? Did you see that shoot he had?
Which one in particular?
Where it was like 12 seconds.
Oh, yeah. And then one of the fastest ones ever.
Yeah, 12.9 seconds. 5.6 seconds from starting the shooting, I guess, motion to getting the first shot off. It's just nuts.
And is he the one that has that different type of swing?
Yeah.
How he gets his rifle off, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jacques
you see it more, hey?
He mentioned it. He mentioned that he's tried it, and that there's it requires a different sort of strength, and it put a lot of strain on his arm to do it. So in order to do it, you really have to practice it.
Well, so we have a guy on our team who always likes to try different things and stuff. But my biggest concern is I only have one rifle, and I don't really want to practice, swinging it on and off my back because I'm worried if I don't catch it, it's going to fly into the Duplo and, So we were chatting about maybe just building just a simple stock with a piece of wooden barrel on it that has a similar weight just to kind of practice. Because, I mean, when you just look at it, how we typically take our rifle off and how he does it makes a lot more sense. Yeah, it takes a bit of, but there's definitely more athletes that are doing things different than what is the typical way of either putting it on or taking it off. I've seen a couple that you don't like. They take the last shot, and before you know it, their harness is already back on their back, and they're already, skiing away. And I think Sturla Laegreid is he using the same technique as Uldal now? Because I know he changed his procedure for taking off the rifle standing. I don't
know about that. But when you're talking about like people who it feels like their rifle is on their back before the shot hits the target, like he's the one that comes to mind for me.
Right. But I saw a couple of others where I'm like, holy, that's And I mean, why would if you see it work for somebody else?
Yeah.
Why would you not try it?
Got to experiment, right? 12.9 seconds. That's just obscene.
And I mean, anywhere you can get a advantage.
Yeah. I mean, in awe at the ability to do that. It just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy that I tried to try myself to just be as fast as possible, just to get an impression of for an average Joe how fast in quotes you can be, and then compared to these guys who of course trained like 1,000 times more, but
So do you want to talk about the big moment in the men's pursuit?
Yeah. I don't know. When I saw it, I don't know. I chatted with you a little bit where there was the notion that it would be that he blew up, but to me it seemed pretty obvious that he was just somebody stepped on his ski, and I don't know. It happens that there's two skiers that both want to not give an inch, and you can see that the skis are close to each other, and I think he was lucky that because it's either that the tip of the ski goes under the other guy's is when you want to lift your foot, then you obviously fall forward. The other thing that can happen is that somebody puts their ski on your ski pole and then it breaks, and then he probably would have gotten third because I don't think he would have beaten Sturla Laegreid with one pole only. It's like I can totally understand his frustration that he basically went out of the finish area. Like I think he pretty much almost jumped over the thing where they take your timer off your ankle. Like he just seemed to skate straight through. But when they had the ceremony, I think they were kind of joking. They all know that these things happen, and on this occasion he was just a unlucky one. I thought it was interesting in the interview that Bo was kind of saying the same thing, but then I thought you really because he said, "I'm not sorry." And it's like, you can also just not say anything. Like if you don't feel sorry, and I get what he's saying, but it just kind of, I don't know. It's more like, just don't, just say you feel bad for him. That's
I know.
I'm sure he's been in that position too, and but there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that there's no intent. Like you cannot, when you're sprinting up a hill like that, there's no way you can plan to put your foot or your ski on somebody else's tip, because this could have easily gone the other way, and then I think when you and I were texting, like I was pretty certain that if they would have gone through together, I could have seen Jacquelin beat Bo. But did you text me that you thought that Bo would have won anyway?
Oh, I don't know that Jacquelin necessarily would have won. I thought that he was getting a little raggedy there at the end, and that I don't know how much, but I see he put in a huge effort to come back in the race.
Yeah.
But we have seen that Bo, while being very strong on the skis, doesn't always have the finishing sprint that some of the other guys do. And Jacquelin's a particularly fiery guy, so I could see him, building up the the sprint for one last little surge. So I still think it could have gone either way. I just thought that Jacquelin was starting to get a little rough there.
It was a bit of a, like, because I think when they come up that hill, they turn right. Mm-hmm. So even if they wouldn't have collided, he would have ended up behind Bo. Like, for me, it would have made more sense for Jacquelin to just tuck behind Bo. Mm-hmm. And then, because then they have that glide down to the finish area, and then they have a fairly long straight. So tactically, I think maybe his pride got in the way, where he was like, I just want to lead the whole thing into the finish. Mm-hmm. But who knows? It's hard to also think what your best tactic is when you're, after, 12 kilometers of racing really hard, to be like, well, what should I do? Should I pass him here? So in the end, in the end, everybody loses, because it would have been a great final to see those three go in.
Yeah.
And there's part of me that thinks that I could have easily seen them collide in the finish straight and Sturla Laegreid flying by, and so anything funny. Could have happened. But hopefully we'll see this duel again in the near future, because there will definitely be some battles between those two, I would imagine.
This is one of the things I was going to bring up, but right now in the overall, on the back of his 2 wins, J2 Bo is in yellow. Laegreid is in second. He's 35 points back, and then Jacquelin is almost 100 points back. But it really feels like those 3 guys have been the main animating force so far, with Perrault and Samuelson maybe a little bit farther back. But I think that so far in 2 weeks, those guys have really they've been at the head of the race a lot.
Right.
So like you said, I could easily see many more races, the pursuits, mass starts, where these guys are going head to head, coming down the stretch. And I'll be excited to see it.
Sorry?
I will be very excited to see it.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering about Perrault. I didn't really look at his stats to see if he was just his skiing was down or if his shooting was down, but he had a bit of a downfall compared to his previous week, where it almost
skiing at the same level. Right. I think he was 9 for 10 in the sprint. He had 4 misses in the pursuit, and kind of stuck around. I think 13th and 12th, or 14th and 12th, something like that, for the finishes. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't nearly where he had been in Contiolati.
Right. And he's only 22, 24 points behind Jacquelin in 4th.
Yeah, it's really not a huge stretch.
No.
What do you think of Laegreid so far?
He reminds, I remember thinking after that race, the Pursuit, that I was like, I have a feeling he's going to have another season like his first season, where he's always in the shadow of JT Bo. But again, not sure if he'll be able to get ahead of JT Bo.
That's the question.
But he never looks. He looks always like he's out of gas, even though he's still, I think he had like the 5th ski time or something. And then I thought his shooting was very good, but I don't know. In my head, it was like he had a couple of misses and stuff. But then I looked at the weekend, or the Hochfilzen stats, and he had 20 for 20 in prone and 19 out of 20 for standing. So, that's pretty decent. I would say. Yeah. He's about 1 miss slower, 1 penalty loop slower than JT Bo is where he is, and that's kind of it's about right. He so far this season has finished 3rd, 9th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd. That's just that is like the perfect definition of him to me. It's just he's sort of like, he's not. I mean, he's spectacular, but he doesn't look spectacular on the course. Like, but he's always perfectly consistent and steady, and exactly where he's dependable. He is exactly where you expect him to be. He has very low variance. Like, it's almost, it's a pretty flat line when you see his results every week.
Yes.
And he was actually faster than JT Bow on the isolated time on the pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
Jacquelin was first, and then Sturla Laegreid, and then JT Bow.
Mm-hmm. By how much do you remember?
I did not write that down.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan. There was not much difference actually between the actual pursuit results and the isolated pursuit results. But I think Preuss was actually, I don't know, 15th or something in the isolated. But other than that, Jeanmonnot was first in isolated. Vogt was second and second. Halverson was 16th. No, let me say that correctly. She was third in isolated and fourth in the race. And then Gilles Giguna was fourth in isolated, but ninth in the race. And then, to me, the biggest, almost no surprise anymore, Alina Stremus.
Yeah.
She was 18th in the race, but fifth in isolated pursuit time.
Yeah, she went from like 48th to 18th.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Turning your weekend around right there.
Yep. So I still they should have a bib for that.
I agree. What color would you make it?
Pink.
There you go.
Pink.
My goal for you then is to knit one like
oh God.
Yeah, and send it in. So you have until the end of the season to get it done.
Maybe can I 3D print one instead?
There you go. That's just fine. Okay. That'll do.
Do you like one of those the what's that movie? The Roman slave that fights in the Gladiator?
Yeah.
One of those yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
Speaking of Stremus, she has 3 of her 9 best finishes of her career already this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she is 29 years old, so she has 79 World Cup races, 65 individual races. So she's not a new competitor. And before anybody comments on it, yes, she is a Russian woman who has moved to Moldova. She's been there for years. This isn't like a new thing. Anyway, seen a lot of that recently.
Yeah.
Do you think that JT Bow will take off the yellow bib this season, or will he wear it all the way to the end? And second question: if you do think that he loses it, who overtakes him for it?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
And I think it will be Laegreid and or Jacquelin.
Yeah. I could see.
Even though I think JT Bow will be dominant in many races, I can still also see him lose to those guys or others like Perrault has a great day or something. I don't know where that balance is of how many times it happens and when it happens, because that obviously impacts if he's going to lose a bit. But I honestly think Laegreid and Jacquelin are not going to lose that many points to him, that JT Bow having a bad weekend is going to, it will put them really close again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think they will be in the mix for most of the season. I don't know that they're necessarily going to beat him in the end, but I think they will, especially Sturla, I think will be within striking distance and make it interesting all the way to the close.
Mm-hmm. Do you see Samuelsson improving, or do you think this is the typical strong start? And
I think that we have seen peak form Samuelsson until Worlds. I think that when Worlds come, so maybe Antholz, we'll see very strong Samuelsson right before Worlds, and then immediately afterwards we'll see him be very strong again. It just seems like that's the way he normally goes, right?
Yeah.
And that's not to say that he's going to be bad. I don't think he's going to be falling off a cliff. I just don't think he's going to be winning multiple races.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, now watch him go and like sweep everything in honesty.
Yeah, could be. I really liked Vogt this weekend.
Yes.
Very solid and definitely seems to have found something in her skiing. I didn't look at her actual stats in the skiing, but she just seems more feisty, for lack of a better term, when she's skiing.
I would agree
her
with
shooting
you
is still
there.
great where it has been. So
she is one that I'm really hopeful for this year. I obviously just like her as an athlete, but she was quite open over the summer about sort of mental health struggles and sort of feeling some criticism from fans online and whatnot. So watching her come back from that has been really cool. And I think I agree. She's been feisty. I think that's a good way of putting it. I mean, she looks really good. Like, I think I struggle sometimes explaining how I feel about Vogt because when we first saw her, she was so good, and then she's actually gotten better each year, but it's been a very slow progression. And I think when we first saw her, we're like, oh my gosh, she's 24. She's going to be competing for yellow, within the next year. And that obviously did not happen. Now she's 27. But oh my gosh, she's already raced 82 individual races on the World Cup, which seems impossible.
Wow. Yeah.
But I do think that her trend line is still pointing up. And I think that, I think that this is, if she can continue what she is doing, she is very much has an opportunity to be top 5 in the overall. Because sadly, some of the women in the top 5 from last year are not competing. But I've liked what I've seen because, like you said, excellent shooter, and that has not gone anywhere. And she's a little bit faster.
Right. Well, and I do wonder. We talked about this before, where if you do well as a young German athlete, there's a quick talk about it's the new Neuner. And I wonder if Grosjean being up at the World Cup and doing really well has taken off that pressure a little bit of Vogt, because there's also been a lot of talk about Grosjean supposedly being the new superstar, which she very well could be. But at this point, definitely behind Preuss, but
or Tannheimer.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully, and it's you hear it in other sports too. Sometimes it just takes a couple seasons to really find your spot in the team and be comfortable to be at that level. And I think it's nice definitely for Vogt to know that if she has a bad weekend, there's not the risk of her being sent down right away. Where I think with other younger athletes, that might still be the case, just to make room for other young talent to come up. But I think between Preuss and Vogt, those are the names currently that something really bad needs to happen before they get sent down.
Yeah, I think they're very locked in at the top. And this weekend showed why.
So you mentioned Tarjei not doing the sprint. If he wasn't qualified for the mass start either, do you think they would actually send him to the IBU Cup?
No.
Or do you think an athlete with that stature and experience would be like, no, I'll take the rest?
I think he would go home and train.
Yeah. Or be around.
Yeah, or just be around with the team and train. Just travel with, I don't know.
I don't know. I have a really hard time seeing him on the...
And it's
the same with the guys like Jakob Fak and Simonator. Like, if they can't participate, I don't think they're going to be like super excited to go, to the IBU Cup. And with all due respect for the athletes that are on the IBU Cup, but I think when you get to that point in your career, you're like, no, I'm good. You know what I can do.
Would 100% agree. And honestly, I would probably feel the same way. Like, oh.
Yeah.
If I can't cut it on the World Cup, I think that's fine. Right? I will take a rest.
Yeah. Suvi Minkinen was definitely not a home team one day fly.
Nope.
Right?
Yep.
Still showing her great form.
Yeah. 14th in the sprint and 7th in the pursuit.
Yep. Yeah.
I was, I don't know if you saw this, but on the 3rd lap or the 4th lap, I don't remember which one now. Simone actually, she let Minkinen take over for the pacemaking because they were skiing next to each other on the course. I thought that was interesting. Something you never would have seen before. And I think that probably has as much to do with Simone not feeling as good, but also Minkinen's improved ski form that Simone was like, all right, you know, I can trust you to pace and not lose us time on the course.
What race was that? Was that a relay?
Was in the pursuit.
Oh, the pursuit. Because in the relay, they were also in the same loop, and Minkinen had the 3rd loop time. And then Simone and Sidorowicz were, ski time, course time. Mm-hmm. Simone was fastest, then Sidorowicz of Poland, and then Minkinen was 3rd on the first leg of the relay.
I'm telling you.
So
she's having a great season.
Yeah.
7th in the overall right now. I don't think she's going to stay there, but I think this has been an amazing start to the season.
Mm-hmm.
Just looks like a totally different person out there.
Well, and sometimes it's just, you know, when the first races go well, you get that positive vibe and confidence, and it's just a matter of keeping that going.
And she's like, what, 30 years old? So she's not like old. She could just be finding like her, you know,
peak age potentially. Yeah.
It's kind of nice. It's great. I love it. And I love seeing, you know, she's they've highlighted her on Instagram a couple times. It's great. So, you know, good for her.
It was nice to see that Ponsaloma seems to be getting back into the groove. Didn't have the results where we would sometimes expect him, but he's definitely coming back, showing good ski speed. So,
yeah, him and Samuelsson, the classic Swedish relay. You know, where they start off a little bit back in the pack and then make a furious late charge and somehow end up on the podium. It's just it's gotten pretty consistent the last couple of years that they're able to do this.
And it kind of started with Ponsaloma bringing them back, right?
Yeah. I think he used all 3 spares on the prone, and when that happened, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's not going to happen today, and yet there they were. You know?
Yeah. And he was 3rd fastest in his leg. Yeah. Only JT Bow and Finello were faster than him on the skis.
Yeah, it's not like he was behind some slugs.
No. So, what's your take on the little gestures that we're starting to see at the finish line? And in this case, the French, I took it as 2-0 in the relay.
Yeah.
I think is it just fun, or is there a little more?
No, I think it's just fun. I think they're just having fun with each other. Because we've seen JT Bow. Was it 2 years ago where he was like kneeling at the finish line and, you know, pose? Do you remember this?
Yeah, and he also at the shooting range. I think at some point,
the crowd, and having some fun with it. And then this year we've seen Jacquelin do the night and the 2-0. So I think they're having fun. I don't think there's any real animus between the two. As long as it's in good fun, it doesn't bother me at all. If it starts getting ugly, then I would really.
Yeah. No, and I didn't take it in a negative way, but there seems to be some underlying frustration.
But between the French feeling like almost like the little brothers or something.
Well, didn't Norway win like the last 18 out of 20 races? So, you know, when you beat them, and especially twice in a row, you know, it must definitely
go for it, guys.
From a data perspective, I love their shooting in the relay, where Claude had 0 and 1, and then
the way I see it is 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what I saw originally.
It was so nice of them to do that for you, just to tickle your fancy.
So, Slovenia,
Yes.
did they just have Super Wax Sunday?
I don't know,
Super
man.
Wax Sunday?
Yeah, they were feeling it.
Fantastic, eh?
Good old, Jakob Fox started the comeback, which that made me happy. Really happy. I think it was Vidmar and Planko, brought them home in fourth.
But they come in, I don't know what their position was when they came in the last lap, but they were close to the top, third or fourth, I think. And then Planko is only 23. You're like, oh, well, you see it so many times, right? A team makes it up to the fourth leg in a really good position, but then they struggle, and he just stuck right in there, and they got fourth place, and they're only 7 seconds or so behind Sweden, which is no shame in losing to Samuelsson in the last lap.
Yep. So at some point, I would like to see one of these teams break through, whether it's Slovenia or the United States or Finland, someone just to kick in the door and get on the podium. Yeah. No offense to Sweden, no offense to Norway, no offense to France, no offense to Germany. Just you got to mix it up a little bit.
But a lot of teams, right? Because Finland in 8th did really well. Czechia were right in there, and then Jakub Svrtecki didn't have a great last leg. But
nope. Yeah.
Bulgaria was in the mix for a long time.
Yeah.
Ukraine almost disappointing, only 12th. And Vitaly Manzin, that we talked about last week, the 21-year-old that did so well, had two penalty loops. But I think it's a lot with those teams that, everything needs to be going well for all four to have a chance, where the bigger teams can, afford even Christensen or whoever on their team to have a less successful day. But
yeah, I mean, Norway and Sweden both had penalty loops and still finished on the podium, whereas Slovenia had 6 misses total and had a great day and got fourth. So it's just more depth, more opportunities.
So the name Dian Danuser on the Swiss team didn't ring a bell to me at all. Has he been on the IBU Cup a lot? Or? Yeah, he's not young, but especially when he was, there was a couple of Swiss guys that were in the picture, and I think in the pursuit, one of them came across the finish almost last and was just cheering on the crowd and that kind of stuff. And they looked older. Yeah. Like, I think they have pretty heavy beard, and they just look kind of the old school biathlon athlete for some reason.
Yeah.
Just trying to, that was also Danuser.
It was at the end. You're talking about the end of the pursuit.
Yeah.
He's.
I always love that when the crowd just sticks around. Yeah, not everybody does it, but there's still enough people that cheer on the very last athlete.
Oh yeah. Just make them feel like they're loved.
Yeah, and it's for example, Baiba didn't have a very successful pursuit with 8 misses, but it is nice in the sense that the last ones across the finish line are always getting more attention from the TV because there's let's be honest, there's just not much else to show because there's only like a handful of athletes. So we saw Emma Lunder and then Baiba and then Hannah Annexer and Regina Ermitz.
Yeah.
So and I did want to shout out to Logan Platz that we had on the pod earlier, who made the pursuit. I did not quickly look up if he did that before, but he got 56th in the sprint and then 55th in the pursuit with 2 misses only.
Yep.
So I think
that is his first pursuit on the World Cup.
Right.
Yep.
So great job to him. And also the relay team, unfortunately, they were lapped, I think, in the 3rd lap. But again, the fact that they are participating, I had some worries at the start of the season. But Logan and then Halden Borglum, Daniel Gilfillan were in that race. Unfortunately, Daniel got lapped. I think for his shooting has been actually quite good. It's just the ski speed that's not quite there.
He's such a kid.
Oh yeah.
He's like 20 years old. Like I'm really happy he's getting the experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't like, they had Adam Runnels in the fourth leg.
Yeah.
Which surprised me a bit, but if I remember correctly, did he participate in the sprint? Because I don't think he did. So I wonder if he was kind of under the weather and that they said, well, if we make it to the fourth lap, I'll race. But there is realistically, there is a good chance that we won't last till the fourth leg. And then, so I don't know if he was sick or, but he didn't participate.
Yeah. I think that's probably a very good read of the situation.
But
I wanted to mention before we depart, a couple other athletes who I thought just important good weekends. Marketa Davidova with her seventh in the sprint and fifth in the pursuit, and then she actually missed the relay. Turns out that her back has been giving her trouble, and just couldn't get it in shape, and she will actually be missing next weekend as well. And it started bothering her before the racing. Actually, it was particularly bad on Friday, and she still went out there and got seventh in the sprint. And I just thought that was really, I'm sure at this point all of these athletes have aches and pains somewhere, but that it was bad enough that she would be skipping a weekend and she still was able to go out there and get seventh. It was quite something. And then to turn around the next day and get fifth in the pursuit. So I'm just very impressed by that. Sad because she's had this really nice return to form, and we're starting to see the Marketa Davidova of a couple of years ago. But hopefully a fully healthy Davidova in Germany in the second trimester can look even better. And then Sophie Chauveau with her podium finish in the sprint. She looked a little bit lost in Kontiolahti, but lost no more. A podium will do wonders for you. So that made me very happy, just to see her back up that high.
Yeah, it's it almost is a no-brainer for France that they can always put at least 4 women in a team that are in good shape, or you could argue Breza Boucher and Simon not in the best shape, but even good shape is pretty good. What's your thought on I'm a bit, I don't know what the word is, concerned maybe for the women on the Norwegian side?
I don't know what's happening over there. And that's not even tangible aside, the heart issue. I mean, if she's still not racing in France, that's a whole other issue. It sounds like it's not serious, and she wants everyone to know that she's okay, but she just won't be racing again until the second trimester. But Caroline Knoten in third for the sprint, and then 10th in the pursuit. And other than that, it was kind of a bummer of a weekend for the Norwegian women. I know Juni Arnekleiv has already said she's not racing this upcoming weekend, so she's going to try to go get feeling better.
Knoten is still in 8th in the overall, but
which is great. I mean, it's fantastic. I think that you just get used to seeing a Norwegian woman competing for the overall, and you get used to seeing the Norwegian women competing for relay wins and being very, and that's just not.
It's mostly the lack of consistency that stands out, where you're kind of used to seeing at least 2 or 3 Norwegians in the top 10. And right now it can go any direction. Randbu had great races, but then also races where she didn't score at all. And Kierkeide, kind of same thing. I don't know. It just
all of them.
Definitely seems to be something not really going well in that team in general.
To be fair, we talked about this before the season too, and the Schussjohn races where the World Cup women just didn't look good. So I don't know if there was something that happened, if maybe it just wasn't a great training program coming into the season. I don't know, but they did not hit the ball rolling. or hit the ground running, I should say. Maybe they hit the ball rolling. I'm not sure, but they certainly didn't hit the ground running. And but I don't know. Ida Lean is coming up this week. She had some back problems, and so she I think she might have actually been in Hochfilzen, but her back was bothering her. So I had a lot of women with back problems, by the way. And but she'll be joining the team in France, so maybe she can provide a spark. We know she's got the speed. It's all about
Well, they make it look super easy to going from skiing to a prone position and back up, but I should actually record some sound bits of our group, because all you hear is like, oh. That's all you hear in our group. People are lying down and getting up. It's like, that's just fun.
Yep.
I was going to say Estonia women also not having a great start of the season, generally speaking.
Yeah, Regina Ehrmats had a really good start in the short individual,
Finland.
But other than that, it has not been stellar. Hey, did you see Maya Klotens?
Your what?
Did you see Maya Klotens?
I
the
did not
Belgian woman. She was 19th in the sprint and 12th in the pursuit, which are both new personal bests for her. This is the young woman that a couple of years ago Lotte Lee told us to look out for, and she is really coming along. So that's pretty cool.
And 3 Belgians in the standings, and 23rd, 62nd, and 20th. Lotte Lee 20th.
Scoring some points.
Pascal Paradis, the sole Canadian, on the first page of the World Cup score.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other I wanted to say is Dora Weir is, doing pretty good. 14th and total score. And the Polish women have currently 3. Natalia Sidorowicz in 18th, and then Jakiela and Maka also in the World Cup standings with points. So I don't know, you've probably talked to Tobias, but did he say anything about how they feel things are going, or?
I have tried not to bother him too much. I've just posted congratulations, but I'll pick his brain. When we get to the Christmas holidays, I got to do something to give him a distraction during the time away.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm obviously just teasing, but I try not to bother him too much. And yeah. Did you see Milena Todorova from Bulgaria? So she finished in 10th. We spent a lot of last year celebrating new moms. Well, Milena Todorova is coming back from her maternity leave last year, and gets her second career top 10. So that's pretty awesome. And then I also wanted to shout out Hanna Ackenthaler in 12th in the same race.
Right. Best shooters for the weekend: Vogt with 20 for 20 prone and 19 for 21 in standing. And of course, the 21 is from the spare bullets that are included in this list. And George Buta from Romania, and I think he's been top of the list before.
Yeah,
at 19 for 20 in prone and 20 for 20 in standing. And then Sturla Holmgren and Florent Claude were second and third. And last week I also mentioned the performance score that takes range time, shooting time, ski time in account, but does not look at the final results. Best performance scores on the weekend were Preutz, Elvira, Vogt, Halverson, the first 4, and Lampich was 7th with a score of minus 0.92. On the men's side, JT Bow, Sturla Holm, Jacquelin Sebastian Samuelson, and Fabian Claude were all below -1. That was a nice thing too, hey, Fabian Claude. We didn't mention that, but didn't he get third? Did he get third?
I believe that was his second career podium in Hochfilzen, but I could be wrong about that, and I don't know if I can necessarily look it up at this moment in time. So we're going to say that it is his second career podium in Hochfilzen, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. but I'm not wrong. I'm sure I'm correct on this.
No, and I'm gonna, now that we have another sprint added to the data, I'm gonna start. Like, I prepped all the data for the analysis of the starts, bibs changes, and see if that has any impact on the results. It won't be anywhere near conclusive after only 2 or 3 races that qualify for this, but just wanted to see if there's some interesting directions, and hopefully I can fill you in next week on that. Did it seem less crowded than usual, would you say, in Hochfilzen?
Less crowded than usual. I'm not sure. I wasn't really paying attention. Could have been.
I thought, especially on Sunday, it seemed less busy. They have that stretch where they basically have a long, fairly gradual uphill, and then they make a U-turn and go back pretty much the same way.
Yeah. And
in my memory, that was always like packed with people, where now there was, some sections that had 1 or 2 rows of people, but didn't seem to be full. But maybe
everybody was saving up their travel money to go to Annecy this weekend.
Who knows? Is there any snow yet? Have you checked by any chance?
Real snow?
Well, any snow.
No. And don't get your hopes up for good weather. It is going to be gross.
Aye.
Yep. Give me rainy. Rainy and sloppy.
And we're going to have a sprint, pursuit, and mass start, right?
Sprint, pursuit, and mass start on Thursday. I forget if the men or women are racing on Thursday. It's supposed to be 8 and rainy. So it's going to be a slush fest. Saturday.
No, I'm just curious if that's going to show a bigger impact on the starting bib.
Oh, I think it will.
Change. Yeah,
I think it will. Saturday for the pursuits, it's supposed to be 2 degrees and sunny, which will be nice. And then Sunday, back into the rain as of right now. Yep.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see what happens.
Real quick before we go, just wanted to ask you a question. The current women's overall through 5 races, there are 21 races, so we are right around a quarter of the way into the overall season. It goes, without looking at the actual numbers, it goes Preuss, Jeanmonnot, Elvira, Davidova, Vogt, Halverson, Minkinen, Noten, Simone, Hauser. Those are our top 10. And if you had asked me before the season, I would have never in a million years had Halverson or Minkinen in the top 10. Probably would not have had Vogt in the top 5. Probably wouldn't have had Davidova in the top 5. I'm just impressed by the...
Would you have Hauser in the top 10?
I would not have had Hauser in the top 10, not after last season. So I'm just impressed by the turnover we've had so far.
I'm sure you would have had Vitozzi and Tandrevold in there somewhere. So
yeah, I would have had Vitozzi and Tandrevold up there as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely... There's some names you would expect, but it's definitely...
And I think that reflects well on how the season has been so far, and that it has been a little bit unpredictable, with Preuss and Jeanmonnot and Elvira leading the way. But yeah.
But even the men's is... there's only, I say this quote in a quote, 4 Norwegians in the top 10.
There are only 4 Norwegians. Yep.
And 4 French and a German and a Swede. So I think the general picture is still the same, but...
Yeah. Just the actual names. Hey, look at this. Jakob Fock right now sitting in 12th place in the overall. Campbell Wright right now, 14th. Awesome. He's got the blue bib. He's just ahead of Jacquelin, just behind Christensen. What a spot. Man, he's just making me so happy.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
and Jerry Lunger still in 17th, eh?
Still in 17th.
Has some good points again.
This is a fun season. If you're still listening, you're crazy. And feel free to turn it off now. But RJ, do you have a minute?
Yep.
Okay. So we had the first races of the junior season.
Okay.
And I don't expect everyone to go back and look at all the numbers. There were just a couple of names I wanted you to hear. There is Gregor Galica. It's Galica. He's a Polish 17-year-old who has been skiing as one of the fastest junior Polish men right now. And I mention him because Konrad Badic and Badas, and Jan Gunka from the Polish team are like 22, 23 years old, and they just had career bests. So look at these young Poles are coming. Mm-hmm. Elias Seidel was by far the fastest junior man, and he's actually going to be on the IBU Cup this weekend, so you'll be able to see him in Obertiliac. And then on the women's side, there's Esther Volfa, who is a young Latvian woman who right now has the second most points on the Junior Cup, and has been racing really well. Just some cool names, just to tickle your fancy and make you go read about the juniors races.
But that's great for the Polish program too.
Oh, it really is. Yeah, very exciting. And then if you look at the standings, of course, you'll see plenty of Germans and Italians and French, scattered up and down. So plenty of that. Yeah. Just So. Anyway,
all right, that's cool. Anything else?
That's it. Next week we will be recording on the week of Christmas, so it'll be just in time for your Christmas break listening. When you need a break from your family, come take a penalty loop. That's what we should tag it.
Or other reasons, yeah.
All right, guys.
You have a good week. And
you too.
We'll chat soon. Okay,
bye.